In the sun-baked village of Ebony, nestled between the whispering baobab trees and the winding river Nala, lived a woman named Zori. She was the jewel of the village, her skin like polished ebony, her laughter a melody that danced on the wind. Every young man from the dusty paths of Ebony dreamed of claiming her hand, not just for her radiant beauty, but for the grace that flowed from her like honey from a comb. Zuri's father had raised her with the wisdom of the ancestor stories of Anansi the spider and the clever tortoise, lessons in weaving and tilling the earth. Among her suitors stood Kofi, a hunter with eyes like storm clouds and a spear that never missed its mark. He was bold, his love for Zori fierce as the lion's roar. When she chose him, the village elders beat drums under the full moon, and the air filled with the scent of roasted yams and palm wine. Their union was blessed by the spirits, and within a year, Zori's belly swelled with the promise of new life. "It will be a daughter," Kofi whispered one evening, his hand on her curve, as fierce and lovely as her mother. "The gods have favored us." The village buzzed like a hive of bees. "Zuri's child will outshine the stars." The women gossiped at the market, pounding fufu with pestles that echoed their excitement. Even the children, with their sticky fingers from sugarcane, imagine a baby with curls like midnight vines. But on the night of the red moon, when thunder rumbled like distant war drums, Zori's cries pierced the thatched hut. The midwives, wise women with hands scarred from years of pulling life from the earth, gathered around her. "Push, child of the river," they urged, their voices a chorus of encouragement. Sweat beaded on Zori's brow as she gripped the woven mat, her body a vessel of ancient strength. With a final, earth-shaking wail, the baby emerged, a girl, tiny and wailing, but with a head as round and vast as a sacred gourd. Silence fell like a curse. The midwives exchanged glances, their faces paling under the flicker of palm oil lamps. The child's head dwarfed her fragile body, swollen like a ripe watermelon under the relentless sun. Zuri, exhausted and beaming, reached for her. But Kofi burst through the door, his hunter's tunic stained with the blood of a fresh kill. "Let me see my princess," he boomed, then froze. His joy shattered like brittle clay. What abomination is this?" He snarled, his voice a whip crack. "You birthed a monster, Zori. A freak with a head like a bloated drum." He stormed out, the door slamming like thunder, leaving the hut in stunned quiet. Zuri's heart cracked, but as the baby's cry pierced the air a song of defiance, she cradled her close. "You are Nala," she whispered, naming her after the river that never judged its banks. "My river child, strong and unending." Years flowed like the Nala itself, and so did Nala's head, growing larger with each season, a crown of misfortune that drew stares and sneers. The village children, once innocent, now chanted "Gourd Head." Gourd Head as she passed, pelting her with overripe mangoes. Adults whispered behind calloused hands, a curse from the river spirits, surely. Even the goats seemed to bleat mockery. But none tormented her like Prince Quaim, heir to the throne of Ebony, whose palace of red clay overlooked the village like a watchful eagle. Quaim was the village's golden Santal, with a smile that could charm serpents and a laugh that echoed like royal decree. Bored with his silks and servants, he found sport in Nala's pain. "Fetch me water, Gourd Head," he'd command from his balcony, his guards dragging her to the palace gates. There, he'd pile clay pots on her massive crown, betting with his courtiers on how many she'd balance before they toppled. "Look at that noggin, bigger than my father's throne." He'd crow as laughter rippled like wildfire. Nala's cheeks burned hotter than Harmattan wines, tears carving rivers down her face. She'd flee to her father, but Kofi turned away, his eyes cold. "You shame me, child. Hide that curse." Only Zuri's arms offered solace. "The ancestors weave beauty from thorns. My daughter," she'd say, braiding Nala's hair with beads of cowrie shells. "Let their words slide like rain off banana leaves." But at night, alone under a blanket of stars, Nala wept for a face unmawed, a life unmocked. The forest became her sanctuary, a green cathedral where vines whispered secrets and birds sang without judgment. Deep in its heart, amid ferns that unfurled like scrolls of forgotten lore, Nala wandered. She marveled at the neem tree's bitter bark, the aloe's weeping gel, the fever-fused tiny suns. Curiosity bloomed in her like morning glories. She gathered leaves, crushed roots in wooden mortar, brewed teas over hidden fires. Trial and error were her teachers, a poultice for scorpion stings, a syrup to soothe fever dreams. One day, she murmured to the monkey swinging overhead, "I'll brew a potion to shrink this gourd and silence the tongues." The harvest moon festival arrived, a riot of color and rhythm. Drums thundered from hollow logs, dancers swirled in kente cloths dyed crimson and gold, and the air thickened with the spice of jollof rice and grilled tilapia. Nala slipped among the crowds, her head veiled in a shawl, hoping for one night of peace. But Quaim, atop a platform woven from palm fronds, spotted her. His eyes gleamed with malice. "People of Ebony," he bellowed, silencing the drums, "tonight, we honor the earth's bounty with a game. Who among you can crown their head with the most yams? But only one can win the mighty gourd head herself." Laughter erupted like a storm, crashing over Nala. Faces turned, fingers pointed. "Come, Nala," Quaim taunted, tossing a basket of knobby yams at her feet. "Show us the power of that palace atop your shoulders." Trembling, she climbed the platform, the crowd's jeers a thousand needles. One yam balanced precariously, two teetered. The third tumbled, rolling into the dust. The village howled, Quaim doubling over in mirth. "Even a gourd can't hold its own weight," he gasped. Nala's world blurred with tears. She fled, yams scattering like fleeing spirits, straight into the forest's embrace. Sobbing against an ancient Iroko tree, its roots like the fingers of ancestors, she heard a groan low, pained, human. Parting ferns, she found a man sprawled in the undergrowth, his body a map of brutality, gashes from thorns or blades, bruises blooming purple as storm clouds. Blood matted his brow, and a deep slash wept crimson from his arm. Hesitation flickered strangers, brought trouble, but compassion, Zori's gift, won. "Hold still, stranger," Nala said, her voice steady as river stones. She dashed to her hidden cache of herbs, yarrow to staunch bleeding, plantain leaves for cooling. Crushing them with swift hands, she fashioned a paste, smearing it over his wounds. The bleeding slowed. His groans faded to sighs. His eyes fluttered open deep brown pools fringed with lashes like raven wings. You're an angel of the green," he rasped. "Or a witch?" "Neither," Nala smiled faintly, helping him sit. "Just a girl who knows the forest's tongue. I'm Nala. And you?" "Jabari," he murmured, wincing. "Bandits on the trade road. Took my pouch, left me for the hyenas." Gratitude softened his scarred face, a jagged line now healing across his cheek, twisting his handsome features into something fierce. UNTAMED. She nursed him through the night, sharing roasted cassava and tales of the stars. By dawn, he could stand, leaning on her like a young baobab on the wind. "You save more than my skin," Jabari said, pressing a carved wooden amulet into her pommel lion's head, fierce and proud. "This is yours now, for the debt I can never repay." Word of the stranger spread like wildfire through Ebony. When Nala brought Jabari to their compound, Kofi's rage was a thunderclap. "You dragged this ragged dog into my home? With that cursed dome of yours drawing eyes like flies to rot?" He barred the door, forcing Jabari to the goat pen, a makeshift shelter of woven reeds. "1 week, girl, then he's gone. And take that monstrosity elsewhere." Zori intervened, her voice a gentle current. "Husband, mercy tempers strength," Kofi grumbled, but relented. For 7 days, Nala tended Jabari, herbal baths for his fever, broths laced with ginger for his spirit. He mended swiftly, the scar on his face a badge rather than a blemish. When he left for a humble hut by the river, tending fishermen's nets for coin, their bond lingered a quiet friendship. Walks through the forest where laughter replaced tears, but Ebony's tongues wagged sharper than ever. Gourd head and Scarface, they sneered. A pair of rejects, foraging like wild pigs, Quaim's mockery cut deepest. Spotting them by the market, he'd saunter close, wine cup sloshing. "Nala, darling, trading one curse for another?" Jabari's mug could scare the ancestors. "You two are the village's finest joke, beauty, and the beast. But where's the beauty?" Jabari's fists clenched, but Nala squeezed his hand. Let the wind carry their rot, she'd whisper. Yet doubt-seated in her heart. One eve, as fireflies danced, Jabari halted by the river. Nala, your light blinds me. But I'm no prince, no hunter like your father dreams. This scar, it marks me low. Perhaps we should part before their barbs wound you deeper. No, she said fiercely, her large head tilting like a flower's to the sun. You've seen me, scars and all. That's rarer than gold dust. Then came the shadow over Ebony, the black sickness, a fever born of tainted wells, twisting limbs, and stealing breath. Bodies piled like fallen leaves. The royal healer's charms failed. Despair clawed the village until eyes turned to Nalar, the forest witch, they whispered. She brews miracles, Kofi barred her door. Let them rot! They've spat on you for years. But Zuri knelt before her. Daughter, the river doesn't withhold its water because of muddy banks. Heal them. The ancestors reward the pure heart with Jabari at her side. Nala delved the forest, moringa for strength, garlic for poison's bite, bark of the bitter cola to purge the evil. Day and night, she brewed, her hands blistered, her head throbbing under the weight of hope. She dosed the afflicted first the children, then elders, even the king on his sick. One by one, fevers broke. Color returned to cheeks. Ebony breathed again, the air sweet with gratitude dot in the hush of recovery. As Nala napped in the compound's shade, Zori shook her awake. Rise, my river child. A visitor comes with gifts fit for queens. Outside, the village thronged, baskets of kola nuts, bolts of indigo cloth, beads gleaming like stars. At the center knelt Quaim, a gold ring glinting in his palm. Nala, he intoned, voice honeyed, your wisdom has saved us. Be my bride. Rule beside me, your curse a crown of knowledge. The crowd gasped. Kofi's eyes widened in pride. But Nala's gaze slid past the prince to Jabari, standing scarred and silent among the throng, sorrow etching his face. She stepped forward, ignoring Quaim's outstretched hand. Jabari, she said softly, when will you speak your heart? Or will fear chain you forever? His breath caught. You know, this face, this nothing life. I feared you'd laugh, as they do. She knelt before him, taking his hands. Laughter? You've been my dawn and endless night. Jabari, my scar-shared soul, will you walk this river with me not as friend, but love eternal? Tears traced his scar. Yes, Nalar, 1,000 times, yes, their kiss sealed it, soft as mist on leaves. The village erupted not in joy, but shock. Quaim rose, face twisted like sour milk. You dare? Me, the prince, for this. This, Netmender? Kofi exploded that night. Full girl, you've spat on fortune. That head of yours, it's miracle enough a prince stoops. Nala's voice cracked like dry earth. Father, would you chain me to a viper for gold? Jabari sees my soul, not my shell. Zori drew her aside later, under the baobab's ancient boughs. He's rough-hewn, my child, but true. Yet shadows cloak him his past, lost like smoke. Ask again. Love demands light. Dawn found Nala at Jabari's hut, questions on her lips. But palace guards spilled out, manacles glinting, dragging him like a felled antelope. By the prince's order. One barked. Traitors whispers poisoned wells, plots against the throne. This Scarman's the snake. Nala raced to the palace, heart pounding like festival drums. Quaim lounged amid cushions, courtiers fawning. Release him, she demanded. He's no traitor, you cage him for my slight. Quaim's laugh was silk over steel. Precaution, gourdhead. Strangers brew trouble like your herbs. He'll rot till truth spills, her blood boiled. Power blinds you, prince. But justice flows eternal as the Nala, for days blurred in agony. Jabari's absence not her. Sleep fled like startled birds. Zori's pleas washed over her unheard. Finally, resolve hardened like fired clay. Better a loveless throne than his grave. She donned her finest wrapper, beads clinking like warnings, and approached the palace, eavesdropping at the arched doors. Voices slithered out. Father insists on the gourd girl. Quaim sneered to a sycophant. Her potions could bolster the throne. But marry that? Never her head's a joke for the gods. And that Scarrat? He burns me. I'll feed him nightshade at dawn. Clean, untraceable, rage-surged, hot as forge flames. But cunning, Forest taught, cooled it. Composing herself, Nala entered. My prince, she curtsied, voice of veil. I've pondered. Your hand, I accept. Stability over folly, Quaim's eyes narrowed, then gleamed. Wise at last. But first, farewell the wretch. Tomorrow, in chains brief, supervised. She nodded, fleeing to her mortar. All night, under starlight, she toiled, a draught of deadly nightshade mimicry deep sleep, pulse faint as spider silk, for one turn of the moon. Risky as crossing rapids blind, but Quaim's venom was certain death. Forgive me, love, she prayed to the ancestors, sealing the vile dot morning brought the prison's dank chill. Jabari's eyes lit at her shadow. Nala, why? Their embrace was desperate, salt and fire, trust me, she whispered, pressing the vial. Drink, it feigns death till dusk. I'll retrieve you. Quaim plots your end, without pause, he swallowed. Eyes glazed, body slumped, still as carved wood. Guards found him thus, pulse silent. Panic rippled to Quaim, tossed the corpse to the wilds. Let beasts finish what fate started. Hidden in the brush, Nala trailed the cart. As they dumped him amid thorns, a guard paused, tracing a birthmark on Jabari's neck, a royal tattoo, falcon wings inked in indigo. Nothing, he muttered, fleeing with his fellow. But doubt stirred. He vanished into the bush dot alone. Nala poured the revival elixir bitter cassia and life root down his throat. Nothing. Panic clawed her chest. She pounded his heart, chanted river songs, tears soaking his tunic. Wake, my love! Don't leave me to this curse. I gasp. Eyes fluttered. Nala, he stirred, weak but whole. They clung, sobs mingling with laughter. Quaim's venom would have claimed you, she confessed. Run with me? To new lands? No, Jabari said, steel in his voice. We've harmed none. Let truth be our spear. Dawn's light gilded their path back. Ebony stirred. Quaim's criers blared, the gored traitress flees. Capture for the stalks. Nala and Jabari strode into the square, hand in hand. Quaim whirled, face ashen. You dead man? Impossible. Your poison failed, Nala spat. As will your lies. He lunged, fist raised. Jabari blocked, a lion unleashed. Touch her, and crowns mean nothing. Chaos swirled, guards drew blades. Then, horns blared from the horizon, a procession of ostrich plumes and elephant ivory, banners of 7 realms fluttering. The Emperor of the 7 Sands descended, his robes a cascade of gold thread, eyes sharp as falcons, villagers prostrated. Quaim paled. The Emperor's gaze locked on Jabari. Striding forward, he seized his shoulders, flipping the collar to reveal the tattoo. My son, he breathed, voice breaking like monsoon rain. Jabari alive! Embraces followed, tears carving paths through regal dust. Bandits struck at the council, the Emperor explained. We mourned you lost. A guard's whisper brought me your mark, glimpsed in death's shadow. Jabari's memories flooded, Prince of the Sands, heir to empires, amnesia, thief in the night. Father! And Nala, my savior, my heart, the Emperor turned to her, folding her into silk-clad arms. Daughter of rivers, you've gifted me my blood. Blessings upon you, Quaim slithered forward, oily smile. Majesty, your son our honored guest. We've feasted him as kin. Lies, the Emperor thundered. I've heard of chains and venom from faithful lips. Heartless whelp you, and your line end here. The 7 kings convene. Thrones shift like dunes, Quaim crumpled, begging. The Emperor ignored, leading Jabari and Nala away amid cheers, turning to all. Kofi's shame bode him low that eve. Daughter, I've been the monster. Forgive this blind fool. Zori wept joy. Her river child wed to realms untold. The wedding feast spanned 7 villages. Drums of gem and talking. Tables groaning under a goosey stew and fried plantains. Nala, head high as a queen's, danced with Jabari under the moonscar shared curses shattered. Ebony's mockers watched in wonder, the gored head, now Empress of Sands, her love a prince unmasked. And in the forest's whisper, the ancestors smiled, for from thorns, indeed, beauty wove eternal.